A new twist in the shocking case of a former pastor, an American Idol contestant, a dad, and a husband, now accused of his wife's murder.
Sir, I just want to take care of my daughters. I'm not at risk. I
understand.
Caleb Flynn was in tears as he stood before a judge days after he made an emotional 911 call for help with a story police say is a total lie. Police say Caleb Flynn tried to make it seem like his wife was killed by someone else, a burglar who broke in with violent intentions. But we have new information that lays out what police saw and what potentially was the mistake that he made in that 911 call that put police and the FBI right onto his trail. We're on the case presented by Law&Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. Hey guys, real quick, thank you for following this case with us. We're able to bring you this story because of our incredible partner, Morgan & Morgan. There's a reason why On the Case is one of the top true crime shows on YouTube, just like there's a reason why Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. For more than 35 years, they've been fighting for the people and have recovered more than $30 billion for their clients. The proof? It's in their track record. With more than 1,000 lawyers across 100 offices nationwide, hiring Morgan & Morgan is like hiring an army to go into battle for you, a team that will fight hard to get their clients the compensation they deserve. Not all law firms are the same. Hire the wrong one, and you may be beat before you even start. If you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan, and their fee is free unless you win. For more information, you can go to forthepeople.com/OTC, click the link below, or scan the QR code on your screen. We get a lot to get to in this case. We are hearing for the first time from the family of Ashley Flynn after the arrest of her husband, Caleb. This is an arrest that I cannot overstate. Came as a shock to so many people who knew this couple. But Ashley's family now, in the wake of this arrest, has said that they believe it was made, quote, carefully and not without serious consideration.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. My daughters are here. My daughters are here.
That is just part of the 911 video that we received from authorities in Miami County, Ohio, of the call that was made on February 16th in the morning around 2:30. And that call, the voice you hear, it's Caleb Flynn. And this is his side to the story, a story that is about a person in the middle of the night breaking into the Flynn's house, shooting and killing his wife, and then getting away, all while their kids were asleep in a room nearby. But now we're learning more about what police saw when they were called to the Flynn's home and why they believe that those shots were fired not by a burglar, but by the man who called 911 so emotional on the phone. And this is a person in Caleb Flynn who appeared publicly to love his wife, but now is accused of allegedly killing her. Back in 2013, 2014, he was on American Idol. He was a contestant on that show. And I bring that up, not just because of the Hollywood tie here, but because of what he was quoted as saying on the episode that featured him. He is quoted as saying, quote, "I love my wife more than anything. She is very, very pretty. I love her," end quote. And when you hear that, it's hard to make sense of this story. But this is why police say this arrest makes sense in this case, according to a new document that we have that was made available after Caleb's first court appearance.
My wife she's got 2 shots to her head.
So that was the dispatcher putting out the call to respond to the home of Ashley and Caleb Flynn around 2:30 in the morning on February 16th, a Monday in quiet Tipp City, Ohio. It's just a short drive north of Dayton. The Flynns, they lived in a nice home on a cul-de-sac, the kind of place you don't see calls like this. Police say when they got to the Flynn's home, Caleb was the one who met them and allowed them to come in to search their home. Caleb was married to Ashley Flynn. Ashley was 37 years old, a mom to their 2 beautiful girls, and she appeared to be a wife with a loving husband. Both of them were very active in their church. Ashley, beyond being a teacher and someone who helped out at church, she was a 7th grade volleyball coach, and she also volunteered. She's the type of person that no one appeared to have an issue with. In fact, she spent a lot of her time helping others. So this is what police say they saw as they entered this home. They got to the master bedroom, and that is where they say they found Ashley Flynn shot in the head. She was laying on the bed. Police found 2 shell casings on the floor. Detectives then went to the garage. On the 911 call, we hear Caleb say that is where the gunman entered the home.
Sir, please, please,
All
please.
right, ma'am, I need you to take a deep breath, okay? Do you still see anybody in the house?
No, the door to the garage was wide open. Please hurry, please. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. My daughters are here. My daughters are here.
Caleb, as you listen to this, there are specifics he gives about where he believes the gunman entered, how many shots specifically the gunman fired. And we'll talk a little bit more about how the statements that he makes on the phone about the couple's children also could factor into this case moving forward. Now, according to police's account of what they found in the Flynn's home, there was a side door on the north side that was open. And they had noticed that door had a large refrigerator in front of it that would have had to have been pushed to the side to open the door. Now, initially, police said there were signs of forced entry into the Flynn's home. They have not said more about that specifically. In the hours after Ashley's murder, though, the Tipp City police chief said that she was apparently the victim of a burglary gone bad. Those were his words. And one thing that stood out to me in this 911 call that Caleb made is just how very specific he is about things like the amount of gunshots that were fired.
Okay, I need you to just take a deep breath for me, okay? They're getting to you as quick as they can. Is that door still open?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay.
What do I do? What do I do? What do I do?
Is she breathing at all?
I don't think so. There's 2 shots to
Okay.
her
Okay.
head.
If you are comfortable, I want you to go and find a cloth, and I want you to put a cloth on that gunshot wound, okay?
Like a towel?
Yes, like a towel, but do not apply direct pressure to it. Just put it on that blood wound, okay?
Okay. Oh my God. Oh my, okay.
I need you to just take a deep breath for me, okay?
Okay. Okay.
Just get that cloth, and I want you to put it on that wound, but don't apply direct pressure to it, okay? They're coming to you as quick as they can, okay?
I just laid it on her head.
Okay.
So according to the initial report by police, in the garage, there were also 2 vehicles, and one of them had a center console that was open. Apparently, this was noticeable from police on the outside, and that's the location where Caleb told officers where his handgun was kept. At this point, it's unclear whether police have the murder weapon in their possession in this case. Now, the document that we have doesn't go into detail on that. The report does talk about Flynn's 2 children. These girls are both elementary school aged, and they slept through the entire incident inside their home.
The juveniles, are they okay? Have you checked on them?
I haven't checked on them.
Okay. Can you go check on the juveniles for me?
The police is here. The police is here.
Okay. Can you go check on the juveniles for me?
Wait, the cops just pulled. They just left. They just left.
Okay. I need you to go check on the juveniles for me, okay?
They're still sleeping. They're still sleeping.
Okay, you still see them breathing? You don't see any wounds on them?
No. The cop just pulled away. Sir. The cop is here.
Okay, I want you to... Okay, open the door for him so he can get into her, okay?
Okay, he's running. He's coming to me. Sir, please, sir. What? I don't know. The door to the garage door was wide open. I'm her husband. No, I don't think so. Yes. Good. Her head. Okay.
Hey, ma'am, do you still have me on the phone here?
It's wide open.
Okay.
But I went here, and then there's a door all the way to the right. That one's open. Behind it. Oh my God. Yeah. Bring it. The 911, yes. No, every door. Please. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
So that's when Caleb hangs up the 911 call. And you can hear as he has the phone still in his hands and he's talking to those arriving officers, some of the things he says to them as they get on scene. Now, the dispatcher, you have to recognize that this person apparently has a very difficult time hearing. It's also not lost on me that he calls Caleb ma'am on the phone call. But the fact that he asks those questions over and over again, it does allow us, I think, to get a little bit more information on Caleb's side of the story in this case. You also hear Caleb say that every door is open. That's what he says to law enforcement. So it's unclear where he was when he claims this burglar came into the house, how he knows the burglar came in through the garage, and his wife was in the master bedroom on her bed. So you look at that and you wonder, was this a situation where the story he tells is that she confronted this burglar, or is it the burglar, he says, goes straight into their bedroom and shoots and kills a woman in her sleep? Now, from what police have said, it appears that the story that Caleb is giving is that the burglar enters through this garage, an open garage door, pushed a refrigerator back, went to a car, got a gun out of the center console, then went into the house, went into the master bedroom, shot Ashley twice, all while the two girls were sleeping through the entire thing. And then this person escapes. Now, police say after they arrived on scene, they put drones up in the air. They used canines to try and find the burglar, but there was no luck and no trace. Now, in the more than 72 hours between the time Caleb called 911 and then there was an arrest, this community really came to Caleb's side. It really speaks to how much trust it appears that he had in the community. He was seemingly a single dad to the couple's two young girls, a widower to these two young girls. A GoFundMe was launched with his picture included in a family photo as the header and the line saying, quote, "Please pray for her husband and two daughters," when talking about Ashley. The focus, at least from the public's perception early on, it wasn't on Caleb. It was on the question of who would break into this home and target Ashley Flynn. Now, as of today, that line about the husband has been removed from the GoFundMe, and the picture is now just of Ashley. That GoFundMe, which is raising money for the couple's two children, it's raised more than $115,000. Now, on the day that Ashley was murdered, police said it appeared that she was killed in an apparent burglary. But then 2 days later, on Wednesday, the police chief in Tipp City, who called in the FBI, said it appeared that Ashley was killed in a targeted murder and the public wasn't in any danger. A public memorial service was scheduled for Sunday, February 22nd at the church where Ashley and Caleb were once staff members. But in the wake of Caleb's arrest, the church canceled that service and said that the families have asked for a private invite-only event to be held to honor Ashley's life. Now, Ashley and Caleb, they were both devout Christians. They attended a private Christian college together in Tennessee. That's potentially where they met. And they spent time as church staff members. Ashley as a teacher, and Caleb was a musician who played in the church band. Now, it's hard to overstate just how much people who knew Caleb and Ashley did not expect that Caleb would be the person accused of her murder. Now, one person who knew the couple we found posted on Facebook in the hours after police said Ashley was the victim of an apparent burglary, quote, "Whomever did this, I hope they fry." But that's not what Ashley Flynn would want. She'd pray for them. She was that kind of Christian. "I'm not there right now," quote. Now, we don't officially know what the alleged motive was in this crime, but there's a ton of speculation. Why would someone have an issue with Ashley? Why would her own husband allegedly want her dead? Now, I've seen people bring up the case of Scott Peterson, the California man who killed his 27-year-old wife who was 8 months pregnant back in 2002. That was a national story. It has been a true crime story that has been talked about ever since. Peterson's wife was found the next year in 2003. Prosecutors argued that an affair that Scott Peterson had with another woman was part of the reasons he did it, as he was looking for a fresh start in life. Peterson's defense, though, argued that burglars in the area of the Peterson home should have been looked at more by police, and some have still argued that Peterson was wrongly convicted in that case. Now, again, it is unclear what the alleged motive is. in this case and what was going on in the Flynn's marriage at the time of Ashley's murder. Caleb does have an attorney now, and he is making a public statement after Caleb's first court appearance. Here's what part of what Caleb said during that court appearance when the judge asked him if he had anything to say following his arrest.
Sir, I just want to take care of my daughters. I'm not at risk.
I understand.
So the judge set Caleb's bond at $2 million cash. And if Caleb is somehow able to post that bond, he would not be allowed to have any contact with his daughters. Those girls are now with family members. Caleb entered not guilty pleas to charges of felony murder, 2 counts of felonious assault, and 2 counts of tampering with evidence. His attorney told media outlets, quote, Caleb Flynn entered a plea of not guilty this morning and looks forward to defending this case. We are both disappointed and concerned about the short timeline and seeming rush to judgment in this case when the government runs out of leads or can't develop leads and looks at surviving spouses in cases such as these, the chance of a wrongful conviction increases. Now, Ashley's family issued a statement following Caleb's arrest. A family friend posted it to Facebook saying that they will not be doing interviews and the family is requesting privacy right now. That statement goes on to say, quote, our hearts are shattered. Ashley brought endless light to our world, and we are trying to navigate this immense loss. Our family believes this arrest was made carefully and not without serious consideration. After speaking with both local police and federal authorities, we trust the proper steps were taken and the process is being handled appropriately. We kindly ask for privacy as we work through this complex situation. We are clinging to our faith just as Ashley did each and every day. A preliminary hearing for Caleb Flynn is set for February 23rd. Joining us now to talk more about this case is retired NYPD Detective David Sarney. Always great to have you here on Law and Crime. When you listen to this 911 call, and it's not often that we get it as soon as we did after a case, but we have in this case, and you hear what Caleb Flynn is saying to law enforcement. If you're an investigator, what stands out to you on this?
Thank you for having me. I will tell you this. Anytime we have these type of incidents, you always go back to the 911 calls because you want to see if it matches up with the statements given to you when you get there, respond to the scene, and speak to the 911 caller directly. And in this case, the 911 caller is apparently present at some point in the building with this shooting. It's just a lot of things that stick out. One, that the kid's never awakened by sound of, and he says it himself, 2 gunshot wounds to his wife's head. If you're worried about blood, I was a little surprised that he remember how many gunshots wounds were to his wife's head. So that's something that sticks out to me. And anytime I listen to these 911 calls, I'm always thinking of what's being said. So then we try to match it up with what the actions that person says later on to us directly. And if it matches up, then obviously you're going to follow up either way. What it comes down to, these type of cases, and 911 calls are those things. I've heard so many. We've had instances where the victim is calling or the perpetrator is calling. It's you just have to figure that out. But what he's saying, about the amount of blood, but still the gunshot wounds, what kind of stood out. And it seemed like the 911 operator, who did a phenomenal job, I will say that first and foremost, kept him on the phone, kept him talking, getting information from him, extracting information from him. And it seemed at a moment, he seemed a little, Caleb sounded a little frustrated by the questions that the 911 operator is asking him. And that's something, if your wife is bleeding out in front of you and you're getting upset about the caller, it just seemed a lot of things were different about going back to the kids. The kids are sleeping. He went to the kids, went to the house. He knows the garage door is open. If this all happened so instantaneously, how would you know the garage door is open? And that's things that always stick out, because that's where when you go back and speak to him, is finding out where he was at whatever time it happened. What he says on 911 call is kind of a way of him staging, getting over emotional, hysterical crying. Do we have that happen? Yes. We can never gauge people's emotions, but the gunshot concept was something that was unusual, knowing how many gunshot wounds was to his wife's head. The way he sounded frustrated at times talking to the 911 operator, and his whereabouts throughout the whole thing, that he's in the bedroom while she's bleeding out or dead, and he's touching her leg, and he says the kids are sleeping, but he didn't really sure. He went back. He was with the kids when they were sleeping, then goes back again. For something in a quiet neighborhood and not having your children wake up to do two gunshots, that's where are they in respect to their bedroom. So these are things we're going to be thinking about all the time, especially when you talk to these callers.
Well, and I think too, with like on the part that stood out to me the first time I heard it with the kids is he doesn't know where, from his story, and it may be true, right? We'll see. He is accused. It is, innocent until proven guilty. His attorney is going to defend him. And his story is that someone came into this home, goes into his bedroom, the master bedroom, and his wife is on the bed, and he doesn't know where this person went. And the entire time he said he hasn't gone and checked on his kids. And it's like, if someone comes into your home and kills your significant other, and then you're not even checking on the kid, you don't even know where this guy is. And it's like, he says nothing about whether he saw him, but there just seem to be some red flags that are going to need to be addressed by his defense as this goes forward. The other part of it too is the fact that this happened in the bedroom. Because initially when this story came out, you're thinking, is she the one who goes downstairs to like confront a burglar? Maybe she was getting some water in the middle of the night and this burglar was there, because that was the story that was being told. But for like how, it's hard to say how common, because every case is unique, but like for her to be in the bedroom, in her bed, and that is where she's shot, and the story is a burglar came in and did it, it just doesn't seem that common.
No, and not only that, when you talk about, and I say nighttime burglars, and I've dealt with cases like this, they're the most dangerous because they're actually going to be a confrontation. There's more likely confrontation with victims in the house, but it all comes down to the same issue. Where was he when this shooting took place? Was he in the bedroom? Was he not in the bedroom? Where was he? He knows the garage door is open. How does he even know that? When this panic happens, people do panicky things, and they're not of their right mind. We investigate the case as it is until we find it something different. Police respond to a shooting, they respond to a murder, and what you're going to do, you're investigated accordingly. You're going to do your 911 calls, you're going to check for all the 911 calls in the area, you're going to check for video surveillance, you're going to interview anyone that heard that. Because in that neighborhood, I think you would hear 2 shots. It's a very quiet neighborhood. It's apparently targeted for the fact that it's the wife that's only shot. He's not shot. He's somewhere in the house. If he's in the bed, it doesn't make sense that he wouldn't have gotten up immediately there or see the kids. There are a lot of, again, all the red flags are there. And, when we talk about staging crime scenes and the like, staging 911 calls is the other part of it. And that's why when we hear these calls, and we're going to investigate it, and you listen to the call and you're going, something's not right. And that's why the continuous conversations that you're going to have with them, trying to pinpoint or set up some sort of timeline for what he did when this happened. And again, this is what investigators do. We take it as it is, and then as the facts lay out, then we go the other route. You started as a shooting, your wife's murdered. Oh my gosh, that's really horrible for you. Tell me what happened. And then you're going to listen to the 911 call going, that doesn't jibe up to what he's saying. Not only that, how was the 911 call done? Was it done by does he have a home phone? Is it a cell phone? These are things you're thinking about when you're talking about this. And this is why we sit down and we'll try to deal with the emotional part. If he's emotional, we have to wait till they calm down a little bit before we can speak to them. Because again, whether you're faking it or not, it doesn't work if you don't have their full attention and them in a rational state of mind. So I don't know how it worked when the interview room. Was he calm? Did he calm down a little bit so they could talk about this? And this is what these 911 calls do. We listen to them, and not just one detective. They're all going to listen to it, and they're going to hear some things everyone hears something a little different. That's why you're going to hear they go, this doesn't add up to what it's going down to, and it sticks out. He knew there were 2 gunshot wounds. If you've never dealt with any shootings, how would you know your wife was shot twice? If all the blood you're saying, you see 2 gunshot wounds, and that's what you tell them on the 911 call. My wife is shot. Oh my God, my wife is shot. She's shot twice in the head. That's a bit of a situation.
Yeah, and this is, and I'm trying to phrase it in a way, because it is a morbid question, but I mean, especially for them to be gunshot wounds to the head, the idea of that you would know, unless he was in the room and says he witnessed it, but he didn't say that on the 911 call, of like, that was the thing for me, is like, how do you know it was 2 gunshot wounds? Yeah,
that's the thing. Did you hear them? And that's the thing that I'd be asking. And again, it's not accusatory. We're going to go, well, tell me what you saw. Tell me what you heard. Where were you in the house? when this happened. Where were the kids? Tell me everything that you have. What is in the house that's missing? What's missing from this house? What usually is what's not usually here? This is the thing. The shell casings that were probably left on the scene. The person, the victim is shot twice. Were the shell casings around? Where were they in vicinity to the body or vicinity to the shooting itself? If shot in the head, they've trajectory can go anywhere with these rounds. And this is the thing: if it's if the rounds aren't there, and if you can't find the spent shell casings, then you have to think about it as why can't you? And if this is the thing you're talking about, it's either a revolver or someone picked up the shell casings. So I don't know. We don't know anything about the crime scene itself, but those are things we're thinking about right away. If the shell casings are there, obviously probative evidence. You're going to find out you'll see the round that it is, and some things that people don't realize. There are things in trace evidence, especially fingerprints, can be located. And is there a chance that these again things you're thinking about with those shell casings? Not only is it the round, is that shell casing have something forensic on it, namely a fingerprint?
And I know that he signed, according to these court documents we have from police, he was very cooperative in letting people into the home. You sign the paper that they can be searched. Also believe he gave some sort of fingerprint DNA. Gunshot residue on the hands, is that a real thing? Like if police are testing your hands and if you fired, 2 shots, which is what he's accused of doing, is that something that would show up if police search your hands unless you washed them right after?
That's a possibility too. And again, I don't know how the interview went. Did he prepare himself afterwards? The difference would be between the 911 call, and that's why it's always important to compare and contrast any other calls in the area around the time of this shooting, because someone might have heard something. So does that jibe with the time he's calling 911 to the immediacy of that? Gunshot residue is an opportunity, is a chance. I don't know if they did anything like that. He's cooperative, and of course I'd be cooperative too if I'm engaged in this type of situation that he's in. Again, he's being accused of this. There's nothing right now, but there's enough to deal with probable cause that they had enough information, both forensically and maybe through his cell phone, because then those are things that come into play, cell phone records. Were there any phone calls made or texts made prior to this incident taking place? Because if he says he's sound asleep, but we see text messages 15 minutes before or 5 minutes before, obviously there's a problem there.
When you listen to the 911 call, because I saw in the comments section, a lot of people are like, this dispatcher has like a hearing issue because he's asking the same question over and over and over again. I mean, is that by design where like he doesn't know if this is the person who did it or not, but this dispatcher continued to ask questions to the point it sounded frustrating, not just for Caleb Flynn, but frustrating for the people listening to it. I do feel like you learn more information, though, about the story because he's asking the same question over and over and over again in some cases.
Absolutely. When you talk about 911 operators and people get very upset because they seem very cold, very callous, they're trying to get information to forward to dispatch. Because the 911 operator doesn't necessarily direct the information to the police officers. They're transcribing that to a site, to dispatch in order to do that. So they may ask several times the same question. Does it sound like it's repetitive and it's wrong? It's not. And also, we have seen how 911 operators have actually assisted in these investigations by questions that they've asked, where they get illicit information from the 911 caller who may be complicit in the criminality of what happened. And we've had that before, where we had an incident where the victim / perp is on the phone, and the 911 operator kept on for a very long time. And that's what it comes down to. They're there to get the information to the police. They're there also to console and help the 911 caller when it is a 911 call, especially when it comes to shootings or injuries. They're giving them some basic first aid because people are not thinking at that moment. They're outside of the circle of the situation. So they're trying to lend what they can do, which is maybe educate and inform, and not only that, give us leads when they talk to these people, because we want to have as much information as possible.
And looking at the statement that his attorney put out to media outlets after he pleaded not guilty to these charges, and it kind of feels like similarities to the Scott Peterson defense, which is you didn't take enough time. You looked at the spouse, But, there were reports of burglaries in the area, and always the criticism of the investigation into Scott Peterson was that not enough was done to look into the burglars. In this case, the attorney is saying that, it's kind of that case where everybody looks at the husband. This was a rush to judgment, and they didn't do enough looking elsewhere. Typically, what would be a rush to judgment in this case? What is that from an investigator's point of view? Like, what is the timeline a public should expect for a case like this to show that a lot was done, where it wasn't just about, looking at him, but all the other options were considered?
It's all dependent on the facts of the case. Each incident is separate to itself. Each bit of evidence is also separate to itself. So when you want something done in 47 minutes, no commercials, doesn't happen. Could happen 1 or 2 or 3 days.
Right.
So there's enough with forensic. There's enough evidence that got probable cause. And when I say probable cause, it's more than likely he was involved in the murder of his wife. We are not, and this is where the prosecutor, and I'm going to presume they had conversations with the prosecution, believing they have enough evidence not only just to arrest him, but to convict. So this is not done in a bubble where we just go, okay, we believe it's him. And I always say this, I go back to a statement from a film that many people have watched. It's not what you think, it's what you can prove. Obviously, what they have is enough proof to show that the individual here, that Caleb was involved in the murder of his wife. And it doesn't come from just, I think it happened. Here's the facts to support that information, that statement, A, B, C, or D. Prosecutor, what do you believe? We believe we have enough. Not only that, we're going to take this to trial if necessary. And the defense will do what the defense does, and they have their every right to fight every charge against him. This is all probable cause arrest. He's not convicted. Right now, he's under arrest. And that's the whole thing about the American criminal justice system. You are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But there was enough, whether it be phone records, whether it be any forensic or trace evidence, his statements alone. We don't know what he was saying to the detectives in the room, in that room when he was talking. Were things found out and refuted by evidence? And the shooting, was the trajectory of the shooting based on what he told anyone that he saw, does that match up with where she was positioned in the bed? So there's a lot of things coming into play with this. And it all comes down to, is this what the police have? Yes. He's been arrested and the defense will fight it. But reality is there's some level of criminality that has been accused.
Yeah. And we'll see, how this is going forward. I mean, he's going to fight these charges. You wonder though, just how strong the case law enforcement has, prosecutors have, but it does seem, at least listening to that 911 call, you can absolutely see why law enforcement zeroed in on him and they wanted to have more questions with him, as they typically do in cases like this. We'll see how it plays out. Very, very, at the end of the day, it just comes out of these two young girls, elementary school aged, now without their mom, and their dad is in prison. And if he's the one who did it, it just is, hard to find words.
These are things that you never want to see. And I don't know the situation between the two. We don't know if it's actually, if it's going to be, proven beyond a reasonable doubt. But the reality is, if he's accused of this and he did this, the damage that was created, that could have been there's other ways in which you handle situations. I don't care what it is. Apparently this woman was the salt of the earth. Everyone loved her. She was that type of person. We don't know the dynamics between the two, and that'll obviously come out further, because just because you make an arrest doesn't mean the investigation's over. So there's going to be more to this case to show evidence to then make it beyond a reasonable doubt that he did what he did. And it's a heinous thing. And I feel for the family. I feel for the kids, because this shouldn't be the way your life should be, that your parents are, one is dead and one is accused of killing them.
No, it's an unbelievable story. And we'll see how it plays out next. Retired NYPD Detective David Czarny, always great to have you on Law and Crime. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much, and stay safe.
That will do it for On the Case, presented by Law and Crime. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify. And we're also now streaming on Peacock. I'm Chris Stewart. We'll see you next time.